Now, we're going to now be delving into the vexed issues for this morning, and we're looking at some developments as far as our quest or our fight against illegal small-scale mining is concerned. Now, I mentioned earlier that something happened 2 days ago, and that the government has destroyed site structures and equipment belonging to Akunta Mining Company Limited. Now, the demolition exercise took place at the Tanunimri Forest Reserve in the Western region. You do recall that Akunta Mining, which belongs to Chairman Wuntumi, which is Bernardine Triboetiakon, that's the Ashanti Regional Chairman of the New Patriotic Party, was earlier ordered to halt its illegal small-scale mining activities in the Tanu Forest. We saw some site structures and equipment belonging to the company being torched or being burnt and destroyed. And some have hailed this development has said that indeed it's almost as if the government is walking its talk in its fight against small-scale illegal mining. Some have also questioned the genuineness of government's commitment, and they're saying that what we're seeing is theatrics. We've had the ranking member on Foreign Affairs, Samuel Okudzeto Ablakwa, who's a member of Parliament for Norton. He says it's theatrics, it's drama. Government means nothing. So they basically play mind games with that. So depending on where you stand, you see things differently. So that's about it for that. But we also saw the former national chairman of the New Patriotic Party, that's Freddie Blay, whose law firm decides to go to the defense of some 2 Chinese who are also standing trial in court over this same matter. So they're suspects. So until the courts pronounce them guilty, at the moment they are innocent. That's what the law says. There's a law maxim. That's what it stipulates, and so that's what it is. But some have actually criticized the decision of Freddie Blay's company or law firm to come to the defense or to defend the suspect, and they're saying that it is or it works against the New Patriotic Party's government quest to fight illegal, and also sort of, what's even the word? It sort of gives credence to suspicions that government is not really committed to this. In fact, I've heard Ibrahim Amaliba, who's the director of legal affairs for the NDC, he says it's almost as if it's a fixed match, and that's why the Freddie Blay's company decided to take this one up. So we're going to put all of this in perspective. But there's also another development. So just on Wednesday, we had a press statement by a group within the New Patriotic Party. They said they would want to refer themselves as full soldiers of the New Patriotic Party, but they have a more official name, that's Alliance for Full Soldiers Advocacy. So on Wednesday, October 12, 2022, press statement, it says, rescind your decision to represent Aisha Huang's accomplices, AFA, to Freddie Blay. AFA is Alliance for Full Soldiers Advocacy. It says the Alliance for Full Soldiers Advocacy is scandalized and dumbfounded by the decision of Freddie Blay, immediate past national chairman of the New Patriotic Party, to legally represent some suspected Chinese illegal miners standing trial. As much as we appreciate the fact that Freddie Blay is a lawyer who has a fiduciary duty to represent clients who request for his services, we believe his decision to defend accomplices of Aisha Huang is unpopular, morally subversive, and a direct slap on the face of President Akufo-Addo's fight against illegal mining. Freddie Blay's political status vis-a-vis former national chairman of the ruling party and the board chairman of GMPC imposes a tacit obligation of due diligence, more reflection, and principle of public perception on him, considering the level of public interest in the Aisha Huang case. Indeed, the level of environmental degradation caused by activities of illegal mining, particularly foreign nationals who have no regard for the laws of Ghana on mining, cannot be overemphasized. AFA is by this press release calling on Mr. Blay to, as a matter of urgency, cease holding himself as lawyer for the suspected Chinese illegal miners. We further call on other lawyers and non-lawyers who identify themselves with the New Patriotic Party to be circumspect with their actions and inactions on the subject of GALAMSEY, in order not to give credence to the perception that elements of government are the main architects behind the menace. We call on politicians, chiefs, security services, civil society organizations, residents of mining companies, mining communities, and the general public to support President Akufo-Addo's unparalleled determination to crack the whip on illegal miners to safeguard our, land and water bodies. Signed, Executive Secretary AFA. I do have the spokesperson for the group, Kamal Bruni Amasama. But before we speak to him, I want us to watch this interview. So Freddie Blay had an interview with my colleague here, Annie Ampofo, who is also the producer and also host of Good Morning Ghana on Mondays. Let's watch this interview. When we come back, we'll be speaking to AFA. And then first of all, I'll introduce my guest, and then we speak to AFA. So stay tuned here. Let's watch this.
Coming in from even some members of my own party, and maybe the general public, and indeed some agitation and propaganda from some MDC quarters to the extent that Freddie Blay's name has been mentioned. And let me be specific. In this case, it's Blay and Associates representation in Kotru by a young daughter, Lucia Calabar Blay, before the court, as you mentioned, Fuesawa. This is a Fuesawa's court defending 4 people, 1 Vietnamese and 3 other Chinese before the court over charges that have been preferred against them. As understandably, people who might not know the facts and those who are not privy to what is happening are understandably very concerned. Some literally angry, particularly from our party members, that why is Freddie Blay chambers? I understand it, that you, former chairman Freddie Blay, your chambers defending what in some cases they say, once you are arraigned before the court, presumption sometimes be that those who have been brought before the court may be guilty. And for that reason, you should stay away, far away, dance away, and avoid going near them. Purposely, precisely because you are Freddie Blay. It's a pity. This is some of the problems that being a public officer or holding any office in this country, which is considered to be a very public office, people have that kind of perception. But sometimes they forget that Blay and Associates, a firm of solicitors. We just want to know to defend our clients. We just want to note that anybody who comes to you, once you've been convinced that such individual or individuals who have been brought before the court are innocent, you're strongly looking at the facts and knowing the law, you will definitely make a representation and defend such individuals. Some have asked me within this short time, yesterday and today, why your office? Why don't you allow some other firms, if they are good to be defended? Why not Blay and Associates as a law firm also go ahead to defend them? Indeed, Blay and Associates, Zema Chambers, is being in existence since 1926. I came to inherit it. There are quite a number of people who have passed through, and there are quite a number of individuals that we have defended. In some cases, they are murderers, are considered to be murderers. In some cases, they are presumed to be guilty of some crime which they might have not committed. In some cases, they are supposed to have been subversionists and they are put to trial. In some cases, they've been put in court on political grounds. We've defended them. So we don't make any difference, except that when we are convinced that your case is good, we are convinced that the rightness of your cause and that the Constitution, or even if there is no Constitution, the law relating to what we've done is in your favor, we make a representation. We've done that. That's what I came to inherit, and that's what I'm upholding. In this case, my daughter also. Indeed, we debated over it, and he says, yes, I would do that. And she went, held a brief on behalf of the chambers, and put up a very good defense. Of course, the judge decided not to even grant them bail, but let them come up again, hoping that the investigation or prosecution will come up and make their case, and then we will see what it is. Mind you, it's not Aisha. Aisha is a popular case that everybody knows in this country. People have written a lot of stories and even have an idea of how powerful and whatever it is. But that doesn't mean even Aisha doesn't deserve to be defended or represented in court. But mind you, we are not representing Aisha. I personally have heard the story of our client, the four of them, and believe you me, I'm convinced that they are innocent. If I believe so, there will be others who may also be convinced that they are innocent. And we've left that one before court, and this is what is going on. Understandably, I've realized people are talking about it. Some even are taking advantage of it and making it look like as if it's a grand conspiracy. Between this time around, it's not even against our chambers per se, but they're talking about it that it's a government scheme, that government is not fighting Galamsey, that government is hypocritical about it. And indeed, we've divided ourselves in such a way that some are pretending to fight it and others are only milking it by going to court to defend those that are believed to have been guilty or they suspect are involved in it. I think it's a very unfortunate misrepresentation.
All right. We had the former national chairman of the New Patriotic Party, Freddie Blay, lawyer Freddie Blay, who says that he finds nothing absolutely wrong with his law firm representing some Chinese nationals standing trial together with Aisha Huang, also known as N. Huang, and the fact that his law firm believes that they have the responsibility of representing persons they believe are innocent of charges brought against them. Now, his political status should not come in the way of his legal work. After all, man must eat. Let's now, let me introduce my resource persons and go on the Zoom link and speak to the spokesperson for Alliance for Foot Soldiers Advocacy of the New Patriotic Party. But before I do that, let me just introduce my guest. I have Mr. Fred Agbanyo, who is the Deputy Director of International Relations for the NDC. He's with us here. Good morning, sir. Thank you very much for your time. It's a pleasure having you. Let me also welcome a very good friend and uncle, a big brother of mine. That's Mr. Titus Glover, who has some responsibilities towards me he has shirked, but that's a family matter. We'll talk about that off air. Mr. Titus Glover, good morning. Thank you very much for joining us.
Moro, you've introduced me, now you want to be mischievous.
I've said it again. I said this one is an internal matter.
I'm good. Yourself?
Good to see you, boss.
Good to see you too.
Right, and it's always a pleasure. So let me quickly go on the line and speak to Kamal Bruni. He's Kamal Bruni Amasamang of the Alliance for Foot Soldiers Advocacy. He is their spokesperson. I'd want to believe, Kamal, you're on Zoom. You're ready for us?
Yes, Moro, I'm online.
Okay. Now, Kamal, indeed, what really is your problem here? I mean, this is a company, a law firm that's been in existence from 1926. As you heard the former national chairman say, they have defended armed robbers, they've defended all manner of people. Why can't they do that now?
Moro, I would like to start by first greeting my Honorable Titus Glover, a senior patriot, someone we are all trying to emulate. Coming to your question, just as we said, our former chairman is committing no crime. He's doing his legal work, or by virtue of his legal profession, whoever comes to his chambers, definitely he must represent them. No qualms about that. Howbeit, the government that is working seriously, just as we said, to fighting Galamsey cannot be seen to have its own members equally defending suspects, even suspects involved in this Galamsey Act. Listening to the interview you played about our former chairman, Blay, he seeks to downplay the fact of his social status or his social standing in our society. But for his social standing, this thing wouldn't have been news in the first place. So when we try to delink his social standing then basically this interview or our press release wouldn't have come in the first place. His response as well, I believe Metro wouldn't have gone to him to try to seek his opinion. There are many judges and lawyers out there defending their clients. How many of us have released press statements against them? But the complicity of the issue is what is creating this whole thing, that holding this kind of position as a former chairman, a board chair as well, you are neck deep in the party. You are not a small person. So whatever your party is doing, whether you agree with it or not, you have to comply with it. That is it. So he cannot try to let people or try to put it out there to want people to believe that he's doing his legal profession, ignoring the fact that his government or our government, the MPP government, is trying all means possible to fighting this galamsey. So that is how come AFA has released this statement, and we'll still call on him, because much as he tried to explain, to exonerate himself as to why he's representing them, to rat AFA, we feel like he's even making his matters worse. So we respectfully call on our chairman, regardless of whatever, because through the interview, he even made a comment, and I was surprised that a legal professional like him shouldn't make that thing, because he said he listened to them and he's convinced that they are not guilty, which I don't have too much knowledge about the legal, but I think it's left with is a court that has that sole right to determine who is guilty or not. So this kind of defense our former chairman is putting up, we kindly plead with him to just rescind his decision. He's feeding into the perception out there. And you rightly quoted this thing, I think Amalba also, because these are some of the things that are feeding into some of the things they are saying. And when they say, it becomes difficult for us to defend. Because if you have no interest, why defend them? Why not join the government rather? Or when the clients came to him, why couldn't he have referred them to another firm to say, no, I'm unable to do based on principle or based on public interest issue. I'm unable to represent this case. So Moro, basically that's the reason why.
So, but Kamal, I've heard some people say that, why don't you rather wait and for us to see the outcome of this court processes before you jump into the fray? Because whether or not it is Freddie Blay, if the state has a good case, the state will win. If the state doesn't have a good case, the state will not win. So how does Freddie Blay's involvement as the former national chairman of your party either deepen a certain perception about complicity or otherwise? I mean, this is the same state that is prosecuting these people. So how do you then, add, or how then do you also fan this perception? Or don't you think that this statement will also help in fanning or deepening that perception that perhaps something untoward is happening?
Morris, you said AFA should have waited. If you listen to the audio, the video you played about former chairman, he could have equally waited. But he said in the statement that he's convinced that they are not guilty. Probably he should have equally waited for the court to decide that. He couldn't. So if AFA is also unable to wait, it tells you that we've also committed no wrong in that the issue you say we are feeding into it is the media that even brought the issue to the limelight before AFA also waded into it. So we are not the pace setters of this issue. So it tells you the way the media has taken this galamsey fight this time around. And that is one thing that we believe that our former chairman should have been mindful of before even stepping. And when you look at the statement we released, we've never said anywhere that those suspects are not entitled to any legal representation. No, far from it. But we are saying that the person involved is the issue. Moro, today, you are known, you are a public figure. Should you do something, you will get the attention because of who you are. But for your exposure, I don't think that something somebody will do somewhere, you go and capture it. So it tells you that when we detach the stature or the status of our former chairman, just as I said earlier, then it means we don't have any news to discuss. It is his social standing and the position he's even currently occupying. That makes it complicit in this whole thing that we are calling on him that He's firm. Yes, morally they are doing their work well, but our party and the government we are all supporting has even come back with a renewed energy of Operation Hot 2. So that should tell you that, yes, probably the first one had some challenges. There's now renewed energy. So why must it be seen that our own people are becoming the legal representatives of these suspects who are caught in the act?
But this time around, and that's my final question to you, that this time, I mean, reading your statement, you're not just talking about persons within your party who have a certain gravitas or have some visibility, but you're saying that lawyers and non-lawyers lawyers and non-lawyers who identify themselves with the New Patriotic Party should be circumspect with their actions and inactions on the subject of Galamsey, in order not to give credence to the perception that elements of the government are the main architects behind the menace. Are you, by this statement, also suggesting that, for instance, if I'm an MPP lawyer, never mind whether I have a big social status within the party or not, I cannot defend anybody who's suspected to be involved in illegal small-scale mining. Are you suggesting by this statement?
Moro, when you look at the Galamsey issue ongoing in this country, do you sincerely think it's only MPP members who are involved in it? Moro, as a question I've thrown to you, do you genuinely suspect that it's only MPP members who are?
I'm sorry, I'm not here to answer questions. If it's a rhetorical question,
fine.
that's fine.
But you see, okay, treat it as rhetorical, that's
right.
Fine. So the fact that we are even treating this as rhetorical should tell you that it's not only MPP members. However, if they are pointing fingers at who do they point the fingers at? They point it to the MPP members. That is MPP. Look at the NDC communicators and some of their big men and members of parliament. Who do they accuse? They accuse members of this party. Probably they just get one or two persons and they mention the person's name. And they make it generic as though every member of MPP is involved in Galamsey activities. So that should tell you, that is why in our statement we added that all lawyers affiliated to the party should be circumspect when handling things of such nature, because the perception out there will be different.
Okay.
Even if they are defending an NDC person, how many people will know that the person that is even defending will be MPP? Yes, it will be NDC. Yet you get the same NDC people on every media outlet chastising the MPP government that is putting every resource to combat this menace, and making it seem as if Galamsey is the sole right of only MPP members, as if their members have never or are not even indulged in
all right. So Kamal,
that we decided to, yes.
Right. So Kamal, Mr. Freddie Blay says he will not back down. He's going to go ahead and prosecute the case. What do you intend to do next?
Well, if he says he won't back down, we'll call him not back down. We'll continue piling the pressure. However, we leave him to his conscience to judge that a former chairman and members of your party are calling on you to look at the party's interest, because there is what's the name? Political capital to it, or political damage this your representation can cause the party. So if he wants to ignore that, perhaps maybe he feels he's played his part in the party and he has nothing to lose. But we feel the party, we have a lot to lose. So if he decides, or if he chooses not to back down, so be it. We leave him to his conscience.
All right. Thank you very much for joining us, Kamal.
Thank you, Moro.
Kamal D. Brony Amasamani is the spokesperson for the Alliance of Foot Soldiers Advocacy of the New Patriotic Party. They say they are incensed, they are unhappy with the decision by Freddie Blay's law firm in defending some accomplices of Aisha Huang, the Galamsey queen. I've just been talking to them on Inside Pages. Let me come back in-house and continue this conversation with my guests. I also need to announce that I'll be speaking to, at some point, Dr. John Osei Kwapon, all the way from the United States of America. He's actually written a piece on Galamsey, very interesting one. He'll be sharing with us at the latter part of this program. So let me just quickly go back to my guest. Now, Mr. Titus Glover is still with us here, and Mr. Fred Agbanyo. Now, let me start with Mr. Titus Glover. You've heard your foot soldiers clearly unhappy about the decision by your former national chairman to defend some accomplices of Aisha Huang. Do you think that they have a legitimate case?
Thank you so much, Moro. Good to see you this morning. It's really been long time.
Long time.
And I pray that subsequently we'll have time to pass through. And I don't want to be given that title of abandoned uncle and all that. So
I hear you, boss.
in due course, we'll
We'll settle that.
settle.
We'll resolve that.
In-house differences. And good morning to my brother and my friend, Sal Ambassador. I've been admiring Fred for long time.
Right.
And I'm grateful I've met him again. So I will look at this issue or this menace called GALAMSEY.
Patriotically.
Before I respond to your
Patriotically.
question, patriotically.
Okay.
Patriotically. I am not against mining.
Okay.
You've heard His Excellency the President also repeating time and number that he's not against GALAMSEY. But
No,
we're
he's not against mining.
Sorry, he said he's not against mining.
Right.
He is not against mining, but he is against illegal mining, popularly called GALAMSEY. Let me take this opportunity to wish, you can see I'm in black.
Oh, yes.
Today we are doing the 1 week of my brother-in-law, Accomplices,
Okay.
in Comte 11 Presec School.
Our condolences.
Yeah, so from here I'll move straight to the funeral grounds. That's why I'm.
And I'm most grateful that you're able to turn up, though,
Thank
because
you.
you have a
Thank
very
you.
pressing.
Thank you. The wife is my younger sister, and we are all members of
I'm
Focus
so sorry.
International Internal Committee 1. So clearly, Moro, GALAMSEY is the worst form of terrorism.
That's how you describe it.
That is the way I describe it. It's the worst form of terrorism. The terrorists, when they are coming, they will come with their guns, their grenades, and do all kinds of things. But when you look at the extent of the destruction of these water bodies, it is so sickening that human beings, because of greed and impunity, would throw away everything for the sake of money to destroy the environment like this. This week, Tuesday, I was at Asempa FM. I was fortunate to have a video of taps in Takwa Achampim. I don't know whether you've seen that video.
Seen that video.
I gave it to your colleague Obi
Yep.
to roll it out.
Very disheartening.
You open the tap,
Yep.
and water that has been processed by Ghana Water Company, with you and I, our money, turns black.
Yep.
He pours the bucket of water, open the tap again, and the water that flows, that comes in,
Coffee color.
coffee color.
Yep.
So when you sit back and you applaud yourself that you're a GALAMSEY miner, and this thing is coming in, how do you feel?
Shameful. There's nothing to be proud about.
How do you feel?
Yeah.
I describe it as worst form of terrorism because the mercury that they use in washing the gold can destroy our liver, can destroy our kidneys, can destroy our brains. He can destroy every part of our body. Some of these GALAMSEYers, they have money, so they can buy mineral water and sachet water and pack in their homes.
Right.
What about the ordinary people who lives in the environs where these water bodies are? Your colleague again, Erastus, let me commend him, that gentleman of multimedia. Again, he was able to fetch water for about 8 different rivers. Pra is one, and Kroba is one, in the western region, in the glass. And when you look at this water, it looks like a mineral water. What do you call it? Fruit juice. Whether pineapple mixed with ginger, whether mango juice, orange juice, or whatever. But when you sit down morally and you look at the way the destruction of our water bodies, I feel ashamed. But I'm happy. I'm happy because the president has not reneged on his promise in the fight against Galamsey. Why do I say this? There were times that in the history of America, when the drug trade was so serious in America, Venezuela, Mexico, they were exporting these drugs into American economy, destroying the lives of the youth. It took government upon government upon government of US to make sure to really challenge those exporters of these drugs. And these drug barons, Moro, they are powerful people. They have a whole standing army. They have money. They have networks and links to people in authority, making sure that this export of these drugs into this American economy are successful. But because the American government realized that, look, we cannot sit down to allow this illegal trade to thrive. Therefore, let us sit and fight. It is on that same spirit that I want to commend the president, that he is not giving up. He has not raised his hand in despair, that the fight against Galamsey, I'm ever ready. And I will need the support of every Tom, Dick, and Harry to support me in the fight against Galamsey. Some may disagree with him for reasons known to them.
In fact, he himself has said that in the 2020 elections, he lost some votes because of that.
Yes, because he's put the work on the line. There are certain seats, like what they call Upper Denchira West, Christian Muni Valley. We lost all those seats because we're fighting against Galamsey. So the fact that we are fighting against Galamsey does not mean that he should give up. And I, New Quartet Titus Glover, I'm a soldier against Galamsey. And I will fight anybody with the media, my media space that I have, and challenge them. That's what they are doing. They are destroying this vegetation. They are destroying this country. They are destroying our water.
But you seem to be concerned that it is not everybody in the New Patriotic Party that appears to be in consonance with the president. Because, in fact, there's a story which was making a headline sometime, I think about a week or so ago, where you said that you are hurt that some members of the New Patriotic Party are thwarting the government's efforts to end illegal mining, also known as Galamsey, and that the fight against Galamsey has become more difficult for the government because some members of the MPP are involved in it.
Is it not a fact? Is it not a fact? Am I the only person who has spoken against this? Look, let us call a spade and not a big spoon.
Right.
Let us not pretend. There are some members of our party who are doing illegal mining, which is Galamsey. And you want me to come and sit on national studio like this and applaud them, clap for them? No. I will not. When I entered Western Region in 1989, Fred, when I was going to do my sixth form national service, when I boarded a Tata bus in Takrady and I got to Takwa, on my left, just after Fiancéman Secondary School, I saw a gentleman in the bush holding pickaxe, digging. So I asked those in the Tata bus, what is the gentleman doing there? They said he's doing Galamsey with pickaxe.
That's Galamsey in action.
Galamsey didn't start in the days of Akufo-Addo, His Excellency, way from Adam. So if there are people in my party, they say go and do legal mining, and you are doing the contrary. You sit in a riverbed mining with excavators all over the place, and you want me, New Quartet Titus Glover, to commend you. I will not.
Do you then agree with the alliance?
I'm coming there.
You're coming there. Okay.
I'm coming there. I'm only developing my point.
Sure.
So the fight against Galamsey might be relentless, fearless, and I've advocated that the soldiers must be made. Yes, there are few soldiers who may go wayward, who are trying to do some few nasty things.
Been compromised, basically.
Absolutely. There was a Joy FM, Joy News documentary that we saw some national security operatives who went to a Galamsey site.
Clash, yes.
And some soldier went in one of the rooms and making calls, and suddenly soldiers have to troop into the place. I was ashamed. The Ghana Armed Forces is one of our revered institutions, and they don't compromise some of these things. And I'm sure by this time the armed forces have cracked the whip to make sure all those soldiers who went to guard against the illegal Galamsey site are brought to book. So back to your question as to whether what AFA is doing is right. It is right, and I support them.
You support them?
I do support them. My former national chairman, a prominent lawyer,
was miscalculated
by all standards, immediate chairman, they have every legal right to defend any client that call at his office. But he must know that this Galamsey fight is a unilateral fight. This Galamsey fight. And when you listen to him, he said they had briefs. The daughter had briefs.
Yes.
And he's convinced. And he's sanctioned that he should go and defend these clients. Yes, you're a lawyer. He's a lawyer. He said from 1926 or 1927.
1926.
The Blay and Associate have been in
business, yes.
No qualms about that. But where the situation we find ourselves now, it is him and his chambers that should rather defend and support government in the fight against Galamsey.
But how does defending a suspect amount to not helping,
You see,
not supporting the government?
The name Blay, Freddie Blay, is not an ordinary name. The name Freddie Blay is not an ordinary name. You look at his status in the society. A former member of parliament for Lembele, a first deputy speaker of parliament, a national chairman of the ruling party, immediate past chairman. And for your chambers to go and defend people who have been found culpable, yet to be proven by the court, and for you to show your face or your chambers to go and defend, the perception out there, on legal grounds, you are qualified to handle the legal bit.
But morally.
But morally and the what do you call it? The perception out there.
Exceptionally.
That are you trying to collide with government? Your whole attorney general is in the court. He is leading the charge now as the lead counsel to fight on behalf of the president and the state. And opposite is my immediate past chairman's chambers fighting government. It doesn't work well. So what they call that the young men are saying, the Afa is saying, they want to appeal to him that he should resign his decision. It can be any other person.
But you see, the law firm is a going concern. The law firm is not Freddie Blay. The law firm is an organization. It's a company.
That is
so
perfect.
when a company takes a decision,
That is a perfect.
How then? Why do we want to personalize just because he is a key member of that firm?
Moro, they will personalize because the leader of the firm was the immediate past chairman of our party. The party is supporting government led by the president in the fight against Galamsey.
But that company has shareholders.
Please.
The shareholders
Please.
are expecting return on their investment.
Please.
I mean, how do you go back to a shareholders meeting and say, well, we couldn't pursue this matter because I was a former national chairman of the New Patriotic Party.
I enjoy your line of questions, how you are going. But as you sit back and you watch the drama, you look at the passion at which Ghanaians are all saying. It is not only, what do you call it, pastors, imams, ordinary people on the streets, media. And let me commend you, the media guys, led by my brother Ashby.
Ken Ashigwe.
The fights that you started, and government have to come in to roll it out. So are you saying as a media, when you sit back and you watch the way my former national chairman Chambers is good for you? Not. When we sit back, and you heard what Kamaluddin said, when you go and sit behind the microphones and we are defending, sometimes it is very difficult for us.
Right.
Because my good friends from the other side, they will hit and punch the president. And me, when you punch the president, you touch my adrenaline. Because I know the commitment and the passion at which President Akufo-Addo is fighting this Galamsey.
Right.
So when people, members of our party, who are directly involved in this Galamsey, and lawyers who are members of our party, who are leading, defending people who have been found culpable, I have a concern.
Okay.
So for me, let me join AFA to appeal to my former national chairman. We are not saying that don't go and defend him. You have every right to go and defend him. But where it is now, the backlash and at which the people are bashing government as if we are not committed.
Okay.
You understand?
Right.
So I want to appeal to him again.
Okay.
He should rethink about it.
Okay.
There are so many cases that he can go and handle, but not particularly on this Galamsey matter.
Right. He should drop it.
Please, humbly.
Let me come to Mr. Fred Agbanyo, who's the Deputy Director of International Relations of the biggest opposition party, that's the NDC. And now, the NDC, Fred Agbanyo, you and your colleagues have not been particularly impressed. You've also not been, you're not assured. You're not certain that the government is committed to fighting Galamsey, and you've given us a plethora of reasons. Run us through some of these reasons why you think that the government, you don't trust what the government is doing. You think it's theatrics, you think it's drama.
Well, Moro, thank you very much for the opportunity to be here this morning. let me add my voice in saying good morning to Ghanaians and to my senior brother Titus Glover. I must say that he has put me in a very tight corner with the presentation he just made this morning. He has proven that we still have people who are ready to be counted when it matters most. People must have a principle and stand by the principle and die by the principle. That it must not be business as usual, that because I belong to a group, and if the group is doing something that is wrong, I must not have the courage and the confidence to voice out my position. I think I enjoy his presentation,
Right.
and I want to commend him that that's the way to go. Based on that, some of the things ordinarily I would have wished to say, and the way I would have wished to go about presentation on this subject, some way, somehow, he has deflated me, and so I may not be able to go on that tangent. But let me start off by saying that, Moro, nobody is against mining. It is God in heaven, in his own wisdom, that he gave us minerals free of charge. That we should mine these minerals for the development of ourselves and our community.
Right.
And so for every society to develop, you need to be able to harness the human resource that you have and the natural potential that are available to you. When you blend them well, neatly put together, then you get a society that will flourish and develop.
Right.
Now, if you don't knit it well, it becomes a menace. So in this case, God has given us natural potentials. We are human resource. We are supposed to put our minds and our brains to the wheel and find out how we can develop this potential such that it doesn't become a problem to us, but rather improves upon our activities. But where we are today as a country, it does appear we are doing the opposite.
Right.
That which the Lord God has blessed us with is becoming a problem for us. It's becoming that which will bring about our demise as a people. And that is why it is important that all of us, regardless of where you come from, will rally to fight this. I agree with my big brother Titus Glover when he says that GALAMSEY didn't start in Ghana today. And so as an NDC member, I cannot come and sit on this platform and point to only this administration and blame them for all the GALAMSEY problems that are going on in the country.
Right.
It is true that mining has been with us for only God knows how long. Indeed, when you read various historical accounts, years past, people just go by some of these rivers and they pick gold, what they call alluvial gold. Yes. They just picked. They don't even have to do any digging at all.
Right.
Those days when we didn't have all these moving equipment, Ghanaians were still doing GALAMSEY. They were not polluting our water bodies as we are seeing today. So it is the introduction of this earth-moving equipment that has, brought the problem that we have on hand now to us. Now, this government really have had goodwill from the people of this country.
Right.
And you, the media, has been at the forefront when it comes to this fight against GALAMSEY. When the president on that day watched the people of this country in the face and said that he was ready to put his presidency on the line so we can kneel this thing at the back, that day I sat back and I clapped for the president. That for once, we are going to get a finality to this menace. Shortly after, it came to look like this is just a normal rhetorics.
Also,
Yes, because it is one thing to make a proclamation. It is one thing to have a policy document. It's another thing to implement that document. It's another thing to enforce, to make sure that document become a workable document that people can benefit from. All the talk against GALAMSEY, I'm putting my presidency on the line. I'm getting the military involved. I'm getting the police involved. The media is involved. The reality is that today, as we speak, what is the impact? If we go around the country, the mining regions, and look at the water bodies, We look at our cocoa farms. We look at the health condition of the people who live in those catchment areas. Can we confidently say that this fight that we picked up, that we are fighting, has really impacted on the society positively? The answer is no.
Right.
And so, yes, we have made all the statements. We are screaming, we are shouting, we are beating each other. But some way, somehow, the miners are still in the forest mining. They are still destroying the environment. The water bodies are going, it's becoming a major health issue. You know, I was reading a recent medical report, some deformity that people are having and all manner of things. And so for me...
But Fred, were you expecting the government to fight this in... I mean, did you expect this fight to be an event? It's a process. It's going to take some time.
You see, I agree that it's not an event, it's a process. But while the process is going on, there should be some benchmarks,
Okay.
you know, that you are looking at. That is giving you hope that, okay, it's a process. It will take us 5 years. Within the first 1 year, this is what we have gotten to.
Absolutely.
We are seeing an improvement.
I agree.
By the next year, we are going to move to the next level. By the third year, then you have hope.
So the public can actually evaluate you based on that.
Based on that. But where we are now, we are told it's a process. But what we are saying in reality is that it's going from bad to worse every day. And so how is that process in place?
But just 2
How
days
is
ago,
that process
just
working?
2 days ago, the government moved in and banned some equipment of Akonta mine. We saw some structures also being touched.
You see, Moro, when
You're still not impressed?
When I read that story, when I
Yes.
watched it on the television, I was sad. And then I appreciate why some people describe this whole thing as comedy, as theatric. Whatever equipment that were burnt didn't fly by themselves to that forest. Somebody took those equipments there. And so the mere fact that you move in there, go and touch it, go and burn them down, without arresting the persons behind, the people who moved those equipments over there, you've not done anything.
Okay.
You've not done anything. For me, when I sit back and I watch that thing, I say, you did this just for the cameras.
I see.
Oh, let's just create an impression that we are doing something. But all of us knows the person who is behind the Akonta mining company. We heard him recently, I think, on one of the star radio stations, where he himself moved his guys, and they claim that they are protecting a forest reserve. We know in this country, the institutions that are in charge of protecting our forest reserves.
Okay.
So how can any individual go with his macho men and say that he is protecting the forest reserve to the extent that when the mandatory state institution even got to the place, they wouldn't even allow them to enter into the forest? How did they get that power?
Okay. Now, that's a very interesting point to raise. Now, I want us to watch the Honorable Samuel Abu Jinapor, who's the lands minister. He held a presser in the course of this week, and he responded to some of these concerns that you have. Let's watch him. But before that, let me just say that the WhatsApp line, those of you who want to contribute to the show, the WhatsApp line is 0249 155 646. 0249 155 646. You can see beautifully displayed on your screen. So we'll be expecting your WhatsApp messages or text messages on the show. We want to know what you think about government fight against illegal mining or small scale illegal mining. Let's watch the Honorable Minister.
A little background will help. As you know, or as you may know, on 15 June 2011, the then government granted Akonta mining in 135.87 square kilometers in Sam Robo recognizance license, which was to expire on 14 June 2012. When the recognizance license expired, he was granted a prospecting license over the same area of land on 31st December 2012. So the significant point is that this controversy of Akonta mining, the genesis of it was as far back as 15 June 2011, and then it was re-granted on 31st December 2012 to expire on 30th December 2014. And of course, the law talks about splitting the concession and the rest. And then on 23rd July 2022, after the company had paid mineral right fees and ground rent, applied for mining leases. But the point of it is that the mining leases which were granted in 2022 were not mining leases in respect of the I always struggle with this name, this Numre Tano Numre, yes, Tano Numre Forest Reserve. These processes which led to the grant of mining leases in respect of 3 concessions did not relate to Tano Numre Forest Reserve. The one which relates to Tano Numre Forest Reserve was an application which was ongoing, which had been left just with the minister's approval. They had gone through an elaborate process from Forestry Commission to Minerals Commission to Gazette to going on to the portal, the online portal, and even paying fees. And what was left was for the minister, myself, to grant the mining lease. And whatever operations they would have mounted there would be lawful, would be legal. I had not determined that application yet. And the reports were that some activities, alleged activities, were taking place in the forest reserve. And I use the alleged with emphasis. Now, the Forestry Commission, which has the legal mandate for the preservation of forest reserves in Ghana, is currently conducting operational and legal audits and investigations into this particular forest reserve. And I don't mean just the allegations relating to Akonta, the entire forest reserve. Thankfully and happily, the report I've received is that the Forestry Commission is been able to clear the forest reserve of any activities. In fact, yesterday, my deputy minister flew over the forest reserve with a helicopter to make sure that there are no activities in the forest reserve. And the forest reserve is now safeguarded so that people cannot go in anymore. And so is it for other forest reserves. In fact, tomorrow, my deputy minister, Benito, is meeting all the regional managers and district managers of Forestry Commission in Kumasi to map out a strategy to ensure that all forest reserves in Ghana continue to be protected. So that is that. We have to wait for the report of the Forestry Commission. So is it that the special prosecutor is also looking into other aspects of this matter. So at this stage, I think it will be premature to begin to talk about prosecution. We need to wait and get the facts. Because don't forget that this company also has a completely different view of this matter. They have a whole, they've written to me, and they've written to me with all kinds of documents and all kinds of claims in their petition to me. So I like to do things in accordance with due process and do so methodically, and therefore I will crave your indulgence and do crave the indulgence of all interested parties that it is important that we await the report of the Forestry Commission and to some extent the report of the special prosecutor. The totality of those is what will inform the next course of action. I appreciate the sensation that is brought because the man involved is the regional chairman of MPP and all of that. It in itself is sensational, so I understand. But that will not mean that we should jettison the age-old principle of due process. Yes, so that is that for Chairman Woon to me, and then.
Well, so that's the Honorable Minister, that's Honorable Samuel Abu Jinapor, who is the Minister for Lands and Natural Resources. Now, the Minister in that press also announced that the new government policy will require that chiefs are also consulted before mining concessions are granted, so that you don't have situations where chiefs are saying, we don't even know who is mining within our jurisdiction, and so on and so forth. Now, let me come back to Mr. Fred. Yes, Fred.
I sympathize with my brother, Minister of Lands and Forestry, Abu Jinapor. When you are given certain positions, they've really entrusted into your care a huge task and responsibility, especially when you look at the people who are involved, people you are supposed, in quotes, you are supposed to fight. And when you know the powers that are behind these people, it becomes very, very, very difficult for you to do exactly what you would have wished or what you want to do. And that's the state in which he finds himself. I can only pray that he masters enough more courage to do whatever he intends and wishes to do. You see, I have listened again over and over to the president about this Galamsey fight. And the only reason why I will continue to mention the name of the president is that the bus stops with him. It's as if to say that as a nation, something is pursuing us and we don't know what to do about it again. The Galamsey fight has become too big for us as a nation that we cannot stop it. So you come back and ask yourself, what happens to your military? What happened to your police service? Your BN and national security? Is the president saying, can the president look at all of us in the face, look at God in heaven, and says that he doesn't have the names of the persons who are the kingpin in the Galamsey project today? Is he saying that? National security doesn't have the names? If for nothing at all. Not too long ago, I heard the former minister of local government, I think she's the current minister to the U.S., ambassador to the U.S., Aisha Huang, who said publicly that she has the names of all the DCs who are involved in Galamsey activities. I have heard Honorable Kennedy Japan, who has said very clearly of stalwarts within the party who are involved in Galamsey.
So your question is, what are they doing with this information?
What are you doing with this information?
Why are they sitting on information?
Why are you sitting on the information?
And yet turn around to say you are committed to
Why
fighting
do you
Galamsey?
fly
So
now
that's the point
to
you have.
Kumasi with your V8 and your ministers and go and assemble chiefs and go and assemble DCs and MNDCs and create the impression as though you don't know what is happening on the ground?
But is it also possible that perhaps the information has been provided to the state, or what I say, the state, so the police or the security services, is not substantial enough for them
How
to follow
can it not be? People are moving earth-moving equipment. What's the name? Tractors and bulldozers and what have you. These things are not objects you can put in your pocket and sneak into a forest. These things are not manufactured in Ghana.
They have owners.
They have owners.
Where are they?
They've registered all of them.
Okay.
They were clear at the port. They move on our roads, enter into the forest. And anytime they are on, they are making noise. People can hear, people can see.
Yeah, but you just had the minister say. No, but you just had the minister say that. Let's go with the old adage, tested way of dealing with this matter, which is due process.
What is
As we speak,
See?
Akunta mining, there's an operational audit which is currently happening with Akunta mining, and that I'm using that as a case study.
That is why, you see, when you start this way, then I'll say that is the theater, the drama that's unfolding.
You don't believe in due process?
What do you call due process? This is something that is killing us on a daily basis. We know the source. We know the people involved. Recently, I heard the former MP for, I think, Obuasi is Honorable Enin. Is that his name?
Yes.
Your
Enin.
MPP
Yes,
MP.
Yes, Honorable Enin.
Who openly came on radio and said, listen,
Enin, yes.
he himself has gone to some of the sites. He has videos. He has pictures. He has given this information to the people who matter.
I've heard Kweku Bako to make the same claim.
He has said that
Yes.
more than 90% of the DC within the mining centers are involved in Galamsey.
So where do you think?
He has said that more than 90% of their ministers are involved in Galamsey. We all heard the audio, the conversation between the former minister, Professor Fripon Boate, and one of their gentlemen from Central Region. Where he openly said that the party needs money. And so it's a deliberate party policy. Let's find a way to push our guys to go and do the mining so they can get some money to come and support the party. And so if the president comes back to tell us that, oh, I don't know what is happening, I don't know who is involved, oh, chiefs, you have to help us. Why? What power do the chiefs have? When our law says that once a mineral is being named the F-class to a certain extent, the chiefs have no control that belong to the state. And you, the state, have all the coercive powers to be able to move in there and crack the whip. And you are playing around the thing, dancing around the thing, come and speak flowery in English, and then you go and sleep, and we know what is happening. I am not surprised about the position of Mr. Freddie Blay on this particular issue. If you recall, when Aisha Huang, or whatever the name is, was first arrested, the time we were told that they reported from this country, the senior minister at the presidency, Honorable Safo came out to tell the whole of this country that what are we going to gain by prosecuting Aisha Huang when we are looking for money and the rest from China. Before one could say, Jack, the woman was either sneaked out of this country. We were told she was deported. We have not seen any deportation document as we speak today. Asked her when she came back into the country and started the operation, we didn't know anything. The senior minister is still there. And so today, for a former minister,
we can take that with a pinch of salt because Aisha Huang is standing trial now. We cannot take what
it has taken the media. It has
seriously.
taken the media and the rest of the Ghanaian public to put pressure on government before they are putting Aisha now in court. Aisha is in court. Aisha's lawyer is an MPP, former minister of state, Honorable Efadate, or Captain Efadate, retired
yes.
Efadate.
Yes.
He is the lawyer of Aisha. The four others had been defended by the former chairman, immediate past former chairman, who sat in cabinet, where all these laws were made, where all these issues were taken. It's now the one defending these people against the state. No, and he comes on television to tell you, look at all of us and say, listen, I am a lawyer, I'm a law firm, we are doing our private business. Where lies our conscience? Where lies our conscience? Where perception drives everything. Mr. Freddie Blay is not an ordinary member of our society, for Christ's sake. A former legislature, held almost all the positions in parliament, a former national chairman of a political party. He's an ordinary person. And so if he appears in court himself, and the judge is sitting there, he knows his judge. Arguably or probably the judge is one of his friends. Do you know the influence that he can have on the judge? And the determination that we made on the case. So what is Mr. Freddie Blay telling us? I'm a private law firm. We want money. And so everything that comes to us, once we have listened, and he has even passed judgment that they have listened to the gentlemen, the people involved. He is convinced that they've not done any wrong. And that's why they have moved in to go and defend him. How do you put these things together? But Moro, there was something that amused me. I felt so sad. See, I'm a Christian. In fact, I went to all night. I got home around 3 a.m. here this morning.
Okay.
And so when people attack the Christian faith and the people involved in our faith, oftentimes I get so hurt. But as if some of the people within the faith, we make way for people to ridicule even the religion. Just when I got home, I was going through the social media. Then I saw a video of some men singing, the fire lab singing, moving to a GALAMSEY site. Then I noticed that they were wearing cassocks and what have you. So
they went there to pray.
They are clergymen and the rest.
Men of God.
The next moment when I saw, they were singing, they were praying to God. I said, what is this?
Yeah, but what's wrong with that?
Moro, I think that, see,
They're praying for God's
when
intervention.
Jesus Christ went to the synagogue,
yes,
and saw that people were in his father's hand, they were defying
he whipped them.
What did he do?
Yeah, he lashed them.
People are mining. People are destroying the ecosystem. They are destroying our water bodies. You know the people involved. As the clergy, instead of to call them out, prayer will go and fill the sites.
Let me please bring in some of my
I
viewers.
I was so sad, and I think that they should stop this thing.
Okay.
Because it's MPP,
Yes.
they are so scared to call them out.
All right.
Is that what it is?
Let me bring in some of my viewers. They've sent me tons of messages, and I really, really appreciate the text messages and the WhatsApp messages you've been sending to this program. I've got about more than 50 or so. Let me attempt to read some of them. Hello, Mr. Host. Why not confiscate this equipment to the state for the purposes of state-related construction projects instead? That's from DS Lati. Mr. DS Lati, you should have told us.
That's a very good
suggestion. Yes.
This is where we go and take the equipment and we bend them when our roads are not good.
Exactly.
We have to about refilling.
Construction. Absolutely.
What sense does it make?
Mr. DS Lati, please add your area in terms of where you're texting us from. That would be really helpful. The government is really not serious about fighting GALAMSEY. Why? Because there are all these excavators seized. Over 500 excavators are back to the site, and nobody is facing the law. This can only be a comedy, not a GALAMSEY fight. Tony from WA. Good morning. I'm monitoring you guys from Tamale. It seems government is playing with its issues of fighting against illegal mining. The rate at which this menace is going, we need to take drastic measures like shooting to kill. Well, at sight. It's come up a few times. In fact, I've heard the second deputy speaker of parliament say, I really don't think it's a good thing to do. That's extrajudicial, approach. Good morning. I'm monitoring you guys from Tamale. Oh, sorry. We should all accept as a country that we have failed in the fight against Galamsey. I suggest that a total ban on mining activities, whether legal or illegal, should be initiated for the next 5 to 10 years to allow us time to go back to the drawing board to fashion out pragmatic and sustainable measures for our mining sector. And it's from Tamale Sense that Christopher from Kole Gono says, good morning to you and your panelists. I'm sorry to say this, but it's a fact. Our leaders in Ghana are not working for the betterment of Ghana as a country, but rather to better themselves, families and friends. I'm ashamed of being a Ghanaian. Only God will help us one day. Christopher from Kole Gono sends that. Kweku Richie Dowenya says, good morning, Moro. The truth about this Galamsey issue is only rhetoric from the government side. It seems they themselves are heavily involved. Just the news about their Akonta mining company of Vuntumi speaks volumes. And also the defense lawyers. God is seeing their animals hard. So sad. FM, Kweku Richie from Dowenya. This one says, good morning. The government should stop Vuntumi. He's destroying our forest. Justice from Malam. Stonewall says, good morning in Metro TV. Honorable Titus Glover is such a truthful and honest politician. I'm currently watching Metro with my friends and everyone is in bed with his contribution. Good work done, Metro TV. One of the best stations in Ghana from Stonewall. Thank you very much, Stonewall, for that. And please stay with us. Don't go anywhere. Good morning. I am Zigo from Seshi Bonsu in Kwanta. Come around Seshi, Dwabosu Western North. The Galamsey has spilled all over the water bodies and it's very bad. What are leaders doing for their citizens? And this one says, Salam alaikum, my brother. Keep up the good work. The program is very educative. Kudos to your elbows. Let me check my elbows. What everything is fine. Thank you very much. Dela Edem, who is a communications team member of the NDC, says, we have a government that has declared war against Galamsey, but strangely, that same government has some prominent members who are happily in court defending offenders. It looks like the Galamsey fight has rather become an organized crime that some notable government officials are benefiting hugely from and are therefore ready to protect their selfish interest. That's Dela Edem. Ayu Farouk, Deputy Communications Officer, hopeful for Tamale North constituency. Good morning. Seriously, Galamsey fight can't stop. If the NPP, especially Anado, provides sustainable jobs for one of the youth in the mining area, or for the youth in the mining area, and also discourage some government officials who are deeply involved in that business. Now, the alternative livelihood programs are ongoing. And my very good friend, Dr. Carol Lewis Sawa, is in charge of that. So that is already rolling out. Maybe one of these days we'll have to bring her to tell us what's been happening since. Ose Kwabna, if you do say Ashanti, says the gods have ordained the Ekemefuna, something. Okay. It says the boy calls you father, do not have hand in his death. The above quote was an admonition to Okonko from Obreka in Cheno Achebe's things fall apart. Oh, I get that. Methinks that it comes to play Freddie Blay representing the parties. Alhaji Haruna Sharma says, good morning. This government is pretending to fight Galamsey by holding on to Aisha Huang to let Ghanaians see they are doing something. This is an embarrassment for this country. Why is Vuntumi still walking free? Alhaji Haruna sends that message. This one, my name is Yakubu from Tamale. Good morning. My country's media. I'm taking just my last two. Well, fighting against Galamsey is a nice task, but the government should know that after arresting those Galamseyers, the government will go and his team will go back to their offices at the end of the month to go and take their salaries. We'll pay, and it will pay into their accounts. To me, I wish government would pick the guys in Galamsey side, put them in a place where they cannot earn a living because most of them are not degree holders. My name is Yakubu from Tamale. My name is George Yao Klu. To prove that Anado is fighting Galamsey, the owners of Akonta mine must be arrested just as others are arrested. If a chairman Wuntumi is not arrested, then we're joking. Good morning, Moro. Is it true that before the settlement of Akonta mines was banned, they were allowed to move away also the expensive moving equipment? I cannot believe this is safe as all. Well, that's true. I heard Erastus Donko of Joyce say that days before that operation, the Akonta mining guys moved almost all their heavy equipment out of sight and just left some small equipment at the site. And we're wondering how that happened because we didn't see that in the previous operations that were conducted with the other miners, illegal miners. So, yeah, it appears something fishy is happening. Francis from China says, I'm glad some members of the NPP are passionate about the issue to the extent of calling out their former chairman. They should equally call out the finance minister who gains huge amounts of money anytime our country borrows. This is a conflict of interest we should condemn. at all levels. If they can't condemn him, then they should leave the former chairman alone because this is hypocritical. I don't know, but I can't read all these messages. It's just too many of them. But I'll come back to some of the other messages as well.
But more just one or two suggestions.
Can I come in?
Yes,
Just
no.
one or two suggestions for a council.
No, because just
Yes,
quick one.
yes.
We'll find out. Just quick one. Then you come back and bring it on the honorable. Yeah.
Moro, where we are now,
Sure.
if really we are determined to fight this Galamsey menace, my advice would be, let us ban mining in this country at least for the next 1 or 2 years.
But that has implications for revenue.
Really, how much money are we getting from mining?
Okay. That's a legitimate question.
Less than 5% royalties.
Yeah.
We have got to pass laws where whatever profit that these foreign companies make from mining, they retain the profits in their home countries.
Right.
So you go and check in our books, GDP, we are doing so much, but how much of those resources really are in our economy? And so for me, I think that we should ban money completely.
Okay.
Let's go back to the drawing board.
Okay.
Let's restructure this and see what we can do. Mining is good. God has given us the good to better our lives. But then we are going about it now. For me, I don't think that we can make any headway.
We're cutting our
The
notice
so-called, the people we claim we are giving license for small-scale mining, majority of them are involved in these same illegal practices.
Okay.
Because we give the license to them, we don't follow up to monitor what they are doing on the field.
True.
We sit back in the office, they are there, in the name we are going to do prospecting. Or we are just testing the thing, and they are involved in this Galamsey. And so let's halt all licenses, let's withdraw all the licenses, let everybody leave our forest. For the next 2 years, let's sit back as a nation and ask ourselves, which way do we want to go? How do we want to go about our mining? If, as we sit here as a country, we cannot think of any advanced technology that we can use to mine so that we don't destroy our vegetation, let the gold remain in the soil until a future generation will come and think and produce the gold for the betterment of our country.
Okay. Now, before I bring in Mr. Titus Glover, let me just say that I will also be speaking to Dr. John Osei-Kwapo. He'll be joining us in the next 15 minutes. That's after Mr. Titus Glover has ended with his submission, because he's the one who's going to basically end the show for us, because he's written a piece. It's a scholarly article, and I think you should read it. I've read it like twice already. And the title of that article, let me just do this quickly so that I'll sort of whet your appetite so you can hold on and listen to him. He's going to speak to us all the way from the United States. Now, he's looked at Galamsey, but from the economics, policy, and politics perspective of Galamsey. He's got some very interesting views to share on this matter. You don't want to miss that interview when it comes up. So, Honorable Titus Glover, I think the problem now has to do with... So for instance, Freddie Blay is asking a question that, look, that our security services are seized with information on DCEs, whether former president, whoever they are, who are involved in this business. He's wondering why the security services have not moved in yet. I mean, you don't work there, but you may have an opinion to share on that matter. And then you can go ahead and
Fred started
yes.
his remarks very well. But along the line, he have to divide and do his normal politics and attacking government and the president and all that. This fight, like I said, it is not one man's fight. It is not President Akufo-Addo's fight.
Yep.
We all agree that Galamsey started from the days of Adam. You had your fair share of it. You could not succeed in that fight. But if somebody has come and he is assuring us that, look, I will not renege on my promise in my fight against Galamsey, we need to support the president in the fight.
Right.
There will be few people who are very stubborn who will try to do something untoward. But that does not mean that we should allow them to go scot-free. He has made his word, and action is being taken. Fred mentioned about these clergies who went to the site, one of the sites, and I also saw one on social media. But in their songs and their prayer, they remarked and said that and condemned activities of Galamsey. They did not only sing or only prayed, they condemned and said that every Ghanaian must support government in the fight against this illegal mining called Galamsey. For that must be made clear. The conversation between Professor Frimpong Boateng and Okawusi is two-man conversation. Who recorded who, it is not to them. It is not the position of our party that we should go and do Galamsey to come and sponsor our party. That is not.
Right.
So I want to distance my party from that conversation that came between Professor Boateng and that of Ekowusi. That was the conversation they had.
You don't think there's any useful in that conversation?
No, please, far from that. NPP is not using Galamsey money to run our party.
Okay.
Far from that.
Right.
Again, this business called Galamsey fight by the government is not theatrical.
Okay.
Like Fred want to adduce here.
Right.
It is not theatrical. No. He's resolute, determined in the fight against Galamsey and the Operation Hall 2. If we had listened to the minister, Jinapo, he would tell you the program they have rolled out. Now the soldiers are on the ground again. Okay? Making sure lists of all community mining companies have been given to these soldiers. So when they get to a place and they look at the list and the kind of Galamsey they will use their discretion and make sure that you stop the Galamsey immediately. And use their discretion to stop the Galamsey immediately. These speedboats that government has procured that are going through all our water bodies and these water guards are all part of the measures that government is putting in place in the fight against Galamsey. I saw a video where a small canoe, where they put these improvised champagnes on these canoes, and they take them, they hide them in the shrubs. When they mine in the riverbed, they go and hide them in the shrubs. You never see it.
Right.
So as these soldiers and these navies have moved in now, when they get into these shrubs, they should go deep there. You see these smaller canoes with these improvised champagnes there that they use in doing the Galamsey around the Ankobra, around the Pra, in these areas. You see them there. Again, the Minerals Commission. The Minerals Commission. I want to charge them. When you listen to the minister, I read it on one of the platforms, that they've been told not to issue any license again.
True.
For now, not to issue any license. But when you give somebody a reconnaissance license, you want him to go and explore, go and dig here small, dig there small, and find out whether he can get some gold from there. They sit in their office at the Mineral Commission. And people are not doing what they are supposed to do based on the reconnaissance license that they've issued to them. They go straight away to do prospecting. So who polices them? You have issued a license for somebody to go and do a reconnaissance license. Instead of you to follow up to make sure he's doing the right thing, he's doing prospecting immediately. You are not helping the cause. They should leave their offices in Accra and go into these mining areas together with these soldiers and to make sure the right things are done. Again, Fred spoke about these excavators. And I think you also touched a bit on it. Right. These excavators, for me, must be banned in all mining areas, except for constructional purpose. Except for constructional purpose. For example, if you want to move an excavator from Accra to a mining community, you must get a police permit. You must get a police permit. And when you arrive at the site, the district where you are going to do your construction, you must go to the district police commander or the district police officer to acknowledge receipt of the arrival of this excavator and the purpose that is coming to be used for. The duration of this excavator must be known. We need to police the excavators in all these mining, what do you call it? This tracker. So sometimes when you put this tracker, they will destroy it. But the police, whilst the soldiers are in the forest, protecting the forest, the police must also protect the, what do you call it, the excavators. So when you leave Accra, when you leave Kumasi, and you are going to a particular constructional site,
you'll be monitored and tracked.
The district police commander, immediately you touch it with a low bed, you will not even discharge it. You move straight to the district commander's office. This is my, what do you call it, excavator, and this is the mining activity, the construction activity I'm coming to do here. So I'm allowed to inform you. He endorses it, they follow you to the site, you discharge. And with time, the police will come, and make sure that you are using it for the purpose for which it was made. And the duration will be known. If the duration is getting due and you are not finished what you are doing, you must let the police know, then they can extend it for you. We can only do this to monitor the use of excavators purely for constructional purposes, but not on these things. Now you look at this picture or this video. All these Galamsey boys, these by-day boys, they are innocent guys who are hustling to get put some body, survivor, put some body and soul together.
Bread and butter.
I had Asante Hini yesterday evening
Charging his chiefs.
Yes.
And asking them that
look,
you cannot just look on whilst
for
your
your
people
for
are,
your for just like the president spoke about when he met the chiefs.
Yeah.
And Fred, with all due respect, the meeting of the chiefs is so profound. Because this fight, like I said, the media are doing their bit, the chiefs are doing their bit. So the meeting of the chiefs by the president, for me, was in the right direction. Today, the paramount chief of Seshi, Nana Bomankuma, has issued a fiat that no illegal mining must be seen in the 6 jurisdictions, i.e., says you also, Bodi, Draboso, Akontobra, Bia East, and Bia West. And he charged the security people to get involved and to make sure that nobody does illegal galamsey at their places. So for me, I think that everybody is now understanding.
You're hopeful we'll get there.
We will surely get there. We will surely get there. And for me, we should not raise our hand in despair and saying that this is theatrical, and for that matter, the president and his government. People who have been fund mounting, let's go after them and make sure we serve at the desired. All these guys, they are only putting body and souls together.
All right.
The real corporates are there.
Let's go and look for them.
Let's look for these people and make sure we do what is right. For me, I will plead with Fred. This fight, let's take the politics out and see that this terrorism of Galamsey does not know NDC, does not know MPP, does not know any political party.
Right.
Do you know when you go to Takwa Achimpim, the water that is flowing their taps is so dark like coffee. And the mercury that is inside can kill everybody in that area. Is that where we want to go? I don't think that is the way to go.
All right.
So please, let's leave the politics out.
Okay.
And let's look at the action that the Operation Hot 2 has come to play.
Right.
And let's warn our soldiers. Let's warn our soldiers.
We're watching them.
And watch them.
Okay.
Senior officers must lead the charge. A whole military officer lost his life. I'm not trying to remind the families of this gallant soldier who lost his life. He has become a martyr in the fight against Galamsey. There are genuine people out there who are promoting that this fight against Galamsey need to be sustained. Let's support the president. Let's support the government. Let's support ourselves.
Right.
I am not against mining.
Okay.
Neither the president against mining. Okay. But so long as it is illegal mining, you are in the riverbed, you are destroying the water bodies, you are destroying the vegetation, who have to come after you.
Right.
And to serve as a deterrent.
Okay. Let me bring. Sorry about this, but I need to bring in Doctor. He's been on the Zoom for a while now. Let me bring in a more academic perspective to this conversation. I mean, that's what he does for a living. He's into research. Dr. John Osekwapo, if you can hear us, please join the Zoom link, join the Zoom feed, so that we can proceed with the conversation we have with you. Now, he's written a scholarly article on economics, policy, and politics of fight against Galamsey. So we're waiting for you, Dr. John Osekwapo. He was on. I think that we may have lost him at some point, but I'm sure he'll join the feed again. But whilst at it, let me read some of the messages that have come through. So this one from Adam A. Gafari Yendi says, "Good morning, Mr. Mo. The fight of Galamsey." It says politicians are behind the process. Behind the process. Those that have been arrested are not directly involved. Can you imagine the equipment used in the mining sectors? Both the two parties, MPP and NDC, are all involved in the mining, so it shouldn't be politicized. We must come together and fight and save our water bodies. Gertrude from Central Region says, "Please, Anado can't fight Galamsey alone unless his MPs who are not in it, who are into it, also stop." I second what the president is doing. Parkweku Accra Ugbojo says, "How can you send the people doing the Galamsey to go and arrest the Galamseyers?" Atembim, so Francis Alhabila Atembum from Zebila says, "Good morning. I think the president should call on lawyers associated with the MPP to stop taking cases regarding illegal mining." Francis sends that. And let me read this too and then come to Doc. This is Abdul Rashid from Dasima. "Government should employ the youth before Galamsey will stop." And Alfred, you're watching. That's my very good friend who's also a Honda mechanic from Kokomliti. Mr. Audu, thanks for the program. Do you know that I have lost my 8 workers because of Galamsey? Well, Alfred, you never mentioned this to me, but why did you lose them because of Galamsey? Oh, they prefer to do Galamsey than fixing people's cars. I see. That's very interesting. Razak Badegbe from Hohoe says, "Peter Mewu should be brought back to fight Galamsey because under his watch, there was some improvement with our water bodies." Well, we've seen a lot of improvement. Well, we've seen some improvement under the current minister as well. I mean, to be fair to him, I think he's doing some work. we all
He's
can.
doing his best. He's
we-
doing his
yes,
best,
he's doing his best. I mean, he's doing his best under the circumstances. We all can have our opinion about how the minister is doing, but I think he's doing his best. Let me now speak to Dr. John Osekwapon. Doc, good morning. Thank you very much for joining us on Inside Pages.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
Right. It's always a pleasure having you. And I'll be reading your piece of article, The Economics, Politics of the Fight Against Galamsey, and you have categorized it. I mean, that's how you started with the economics of Galamsey, you got to the state policy approach, the politics of the fight against Galamsey, reconciling the economics, policy, and politics. What is the import of this article?
Right. So, good morning again. And so, as I was thinking about, the ongoing conversation about Galamsey and, how the issue has researched again with a sense of we really need to finally find something to do about this. I said to myself, there are a number of dimensions to the issue that because it is multifaceted, you cannot focus on just one aspect of it. You really have to map out the lay of the land in terms of all the different dimensions of this Galamsey issue, and then say to yourself, how can you comprehensively approach it through all of the different ways, through all the different policy instruments that you want to use to fight this issue. So that is what led me to say, well, there's an economic part to this, but there's also how public policy deals with those economic aspects of small-scale mining and its byproduct of Galamsey, which is illegal. And then you also realize that there is a serious political dimension to all of this that complicates the fight, but at the same time, you sort of have to find a way to marry all three if we are to achieve any kind of success in really rooting out this problem that I think all of us agree that it's not boding well for the country, for its environment, the security risks attached to it. So that was the impetus for trying to look at all the different dimensions of the conversations that we've been having around Galamsey.
And I get a sense from the article that you are saying that both parties, both have been in government before, the NDC and MPP, they understand the economics of it. In fact, we just saw, Mr. Titus Glover talk about, in fact, he looked at the pictures and said, you see, look at what these boys are doing. They're doing this because of, survival. It's bread and butter. So they understand the economics of it. They understand why these guys are going into this kind of business. Now, in terms of policy, well, we've known about Galamsey, we've known about Operation Halt 1, Operation Halt 2, Operation Vanguard, etc., etc. So there's a state policy in terms of how we intend to deal with it. So both political parties have come up with some policy of a sort to deal with this. And then we know about the politics of it. I mean, as we're talking about, as we're having this conversation, the stalwart of the party, the regional chairman, that's Bernardine Chibuesiako, aka Chairman Wontumi, is in the mix, is in the thick of affairs. We don't want to get into the legalities of it, but so okay. So I'm just if you read your article, I get the sense that you're saying that we know all of these things, but we still haven't been able to come up with a solution to dealing with the problem. So then I'm asking you, why do you think that's the case?
So you're right. I think we've come up with a solution, right? I think we do have a policy framework in mind that we think can make this thing work, that we can use to solve this Galamsey problem. And so that's where I pointed out that, for a while, the state has been saying, okay, if we can put in some regularization mechanisms, right? So if you go all the way back to 1989, we put in a legal framework, a proper policy framework, who can do small scale mining, who can't, what are the rules that govern, the way we go about small scale mining. It was all done with the hope that if we sanitize that sector, then we can bring in all of the key actors who would properly do artisanal and small-scale mining. So I think on that part, we get it. And then I think we also realize that even as we try to regularize everything, we also notice that we will still end up in situations where, quote unquote, people who might still deviate from the rules, the regulations that we are putting in place. So you need a stronger regulatory hand of the state to make sure that everybody's playing by the rules. And the state has also then introduced another component of it, right, which is forcibly removing folks engaging in Galamsey from Galamsey sites. So that's sort of the security piece, the use of the security service, military, the various military operations that we've tried. And that also has come with, some of its challenges. I think, and for me, I think that what is making the fight more difficult, besides the challenges that the state faces in terms of its regulatory capacity, I think it's the politics of it. Being able to build the right political consensus around this thing that says, look, we need to really root this out. Because you also cannot overlook the fact that our political parties are also sensitive to the political ramifications of the fight against Galamsey. And by that, I mean, whenever you're trying to fight an issue, or you're trying to use policy to fight an issue, the politics of it in our context becomes such that it's either you get rewarded for doing the right thing, therefore you get votes, or depending on how those who are affected by your policy view it, they may, quote unquote, punish you by taking votes away from you. And I think, I don't know if it's Mr. Titus Glover who made reference to that in terms of some of the votes that were lost in the 2020 election.
That's true. That's true.
In Galamsey areas. So those are things that political parties in reality would not overlook. They are sensitive to it. The thing is, if we can build political consensus that says we all are going to be on the same page, where we are going to treat this as a zero-sum game, no winners, no losers. We all believe that this is a right policy framework. We are all going to, put, our efforts, our energies behind it and fight it. I think that's the politics that is missing. It also hasn't helped that we've seen some political mishaps over the last couple of years. As some of you have mentioned, some of the, allegations of, people who are supposed to be helping with the fight, either being engaged in it, or some of the allegations about folks with connections who therefore end up undermining this fight. So for me, those are all the political things. If we can remove from the way the state is trying to fight this by saying we'll put in a strong regulatory framework and make sure that we are able to monitor, enforce, punish without other actors turning around to undermine the efforts of the state, I think we can make some really good progress. Because again, I don't think anybody can look at all the pictures and all the images we are seeing from Galamsey sites and be happy with what we are seeing. I think our two major political parties do recognize that this is really bad, this won't end well, and therefore we have to do something about it. The other thing that I'll also quickly mention is that because of the economics of it, right, rightly or wrongly, these are also people who are trying to earn a living. That is why I also like the approach of, as we root out Galamsey, is there a path to put these people on in terms of alternative livelihoods? And I think that is an important dimension too that we must really take a look at. Because if you take people's livelihoods away from them, although it is being, earned in an illegal way, then you must provide some legal way of them earning a livelihood. Because at the same time, we also don't want a situation where, the youth are unemployed, people are unemployed. So the state faces quite a challenge, but I think some of the frameworks that is being put in place if we can get the full political commitment behind it, when no one is trying to undermine the very efforts that the state is trying to make, we can make some headway.
Doc, I want us to touch on the policy framework relative to the economics of it. And I'm going to read verbatim something that you've written in your article, where you say, during my doctoral dissertation research work some 12 years ago on the political economy of resource governance in Ghana, I learned quite a bit about GALAMSEY. I was quite struck by the personal risk to those involved, including the possibility of death. I also noticed strong economic incentives, jobs and earning a livelihood. I understand, while not excusing the trade-offs made by those who engage in GALAMSEY, the small-scale mining sector in which GALAMSEY occurs also holds strong economic incentives for the state. In the small-scale and community mining operational manual dated September 2021, the importance of the sector is captured as follows, and it goes ahead. You capture that in your write-up. But my question really, it's got to do with, can there be a substitute for GALAMSEY?
In terms of, yes.
In terms of the rewards or the benefits of it?
That's a very good question. So when I was doing my research, and as I mentioned, I was quite struck that you could literally die on some of these GALAMSEY sites, the pits collapsing, things like that. But the economic incentives were quite strong. If you talk to them and how much they are able to, earn if things quote unquote go well. Then you want to transition them out from how much they are earning through this illegal activity, to earning something, in a legal way. I think that if you can find those alternative livelihoods for these individuals who are engaged in GALAMSEY, for them to be able to earn a living wage, right? And even if in earning that living wage, you still want to supplement it, for example, by bringing them into a program like LEAP, to make sure that they are quote unquote comfortable enough, that you take away those incentives for them to return to the GALAMSEY site. So if you have strong enforcement in place, strong regulatory oversight in place, but at the same time, if you are able to ensure that they have, those alternative livelihoods through jobs, through other policy interventions from the state, like perhaps you can put some of them on a LEAP program, then you solve that economic quagmire that they face. So that one, they wake up in the morning knowing that I have a job to go to that earns me a living wage, or I have a state intervention program that provides me with some cash income support. And therefore, I have no business risking all of these things to go and become involved in GALAMSEY. I think that I believe that would work. But
okay,
it really is a fight that requires ongoing, unwavering commitment and making sure that those who, through their inactions or actions, may try to undermine the fight are also dealt with when we come across them.
Now, just 2 minutes if you can do this, because we'd run out of time. Just 2 minutes. Do you think that how this Akonta mining case is dealt with would either, to a very large extent, enhance the integrity of the government's commitment to fighting GALAMSEY or not? And some people have said that's a really tough call, because we're talking about the Ashanti regional chairman of the party in government. So it will either diminish it or it will enhance it.
It puts the government in a very difficult situation, right? The government will have to, the government is being called upon to show that it is truly committed against this fight, which means that if it finds people who allegedly have found themselves on the wrong side of the law where illegal mining is concerned, there's that expectation that the government would deal forcibly, without fear or favor, without favoritism, with all of these actors. And so I share that concern that people have raised, that if you want to us to take you seriously, how you deal with this particular situation would even reinforce our faith in you that you are seriously committed to this fight, or would make us say, well, maybe we are not sure. And it's a, as you yourself pointed out, it's a tough situation that the government has, is in. But I think it should be able to demonstrate that it is truly committed, and without fear or favor, it would deal with anyone who is found to be on the wrong side of the law, where this issue of Galamsey is concerned.
All right, then. Dr. John Osei-Kwapon, it's always a pleasure talking to you. Have a good day, sir.
Thank you, you too.
All right. So, gentlemen, we have 4 minutes. I don't know what we're going to do. We can split to 2 minutes each. What do you think should be the way forward? Fred? Okay. Oh, sorry, your microphone is off. Sorry. Put it on back. Sorry.
Thank you very much. Yeah, I'm saying that I agree with everybody who is calling on all of us to come on board to help fight this particular menace. But those who are directly in charge must inspire in us some confidence that they are ready to lead us to get to the bottom of the problem. By setting examples, those who are engaged in these things, calling them out, punishing them. You see, I get so sad when they go to the site and go and pick these young boys and young girls, mothers, and go and throw them in cells. When all of us knows very well that these are not, that there are big people behind them who are buying the excavators, who sit in Accra, who sit in Kumasi, who sit in Takoradi. Big people in society. These are the people we should look for. When an excavator comes to town, let's find out who the owner is. Who is the owner? Let us have the courage, regardless of your political affiliation. You can be MPP, you can be NDC, you can be CPP. We are saying that we are not interested in this again. If you move in there, you are arrested, face the law. Once we do that, everybody will be inspired to come on board. But when it looks as though we are protecting some people, it becomes difficult for us to get everybody to come on board. But as I said from the very beginning, my conclusion, let us ban mining at least for the next 2 years. Get back to the drawing board, see how we can correct all the nuances, and then we can come and continue.
Moro, listening to my brother John Osei-Kwapon, we touched on one or two things that I want us to look at. One, he talked about regulatory framework. This regulatory framework is embedded in the law.
It's already there.
Law. So, for example, when the Constitution itself tells us about how we should deal with our mining. The Mining Act 206, Act 703, which was later amended in 2015, Act 900. Then later, it was also amended in 2019, 995. And the Minerals Commission Act 450. Clearly, the regulation is embedded there, where the Minerals Commission must deal as to how we're handling mining. So, for example, when you give somebody a reconnaissance license to go and do reconnaissance, and it's doing prospecting, then you, the officer or the Mineral Commission, you're not doing your work well. So clearly, I am happy that the minister said they should suspend all issuance of permits, whether reconnaissance or prospecting. They should stop it. Now, those on the ground who are working, the soldiers who are going, they will inspect. Are you a community license holder? You hold it. Are you doing reconnaissance or are you doing prospecting? They should look at all these things and deal with it. Again, excavators. I have said it, and I want to repeat myself. No excavator must be found in the mining area. If it is for construction purposes, good. Before any excavator moves from the office of the contractor, he must get the police permit. Dampare, if you are watching me, please come in here. My brother, the police must be involved to police where this excavator is going. If it's going to do construction, bingo. When he arrives at the site in the district, the police commander there must be notified. And police, the BNI must police and make sure they are doing this. And again, finally, after when these soldiers are doing these operation halts, the land reclamation is there. I'm expecting the minister to come and give us what they're going to do about it. Tree planting. We need to plant the trees again to recapture our forest back. And I'm sure The government led by President Akufo-Addo is determined to fight against Galamsey. All of us should come together and take the politics out to deal with the problem.
Owusu Bobie Jr. watching us from Jacksonville, Florida. He says, good morning. Very instructive discussions from you and your panelists. And this one from Akwesi in Nkoko says, look, anytime the police and soldiers are set for operations, they send information to the Galamsey side that tomorrow we are coming. Oh, I'm telling you, any side they do Galamsey, the police in that area have their share of the money. The chiefs also take their share, soldiers also take theirs. A guy told me when the soldiers come, they ask them, which minister are you working for? If your link is not tight, then they arrest you. So who are they fooling? Tonzwa Nazori Mustafa says that, good morning, More. If the government really wants to succeed in the fight against Galamsey, he should quickly do the reshuffle and make Honorable Titus Nick Glover the Minister of Lands and Naturals. Titus Glover can do the work for him. And this one here, finally, Kweku from Gasal says, I work with SGMC in 80s. We tried fighting Galamsey. You arrest corporates who will offer bribes. You laugh, they laugh at you when you arrest them. Some police officers will also laugh at you, all because a judge at the end will find the culprits of 20 cities or so, and they come back to laugh more. Our systems are deeply corrupt. That was then. It's now been made more punitive. This one, Tibila Moses in Baku says, indeed, this is what happens when the wolf is entrusted to look after the sheep. Our leaders are complacent. They are the financiers of the menace, and it goes on and on and on. I can't read all your messages, but let me just end with this one. Simon sends this one. Says, today is my brother's birthday. Honorable John Peter Apabe. John Peter Apabe, he's the presiding member for Bilsa South District. Wish him God's blessings and protection from Simon, Dean, Parliamentary Press Corps. So that's it. I want to thank you. Okay. Oh, how old is she? Oh, wonderful. All right, thank you very much for watching. My name is Al Dumoro. I want to say a very big thanks to Fred Agbenyo, Deputy Director of International Relations, NDC, also Communications Team Member, Titus D. Glover, former MP, Tema East. Thanks for watching. Have a great day. Have a good weekend. Bye-bye.